Here, you want to give us your name and what your honor was?
I'm Ashley Henneman, and I was a Fair Queen candidate. And over there is Delana Olson, and she was the first runner-up.
I see. Well, congratulations to both of you, and glad you're here.
I think a really nice pair of females, and there were times when they were both, I think, back and forth and maybe in that first position for a while. There's certain things that I like about each of them extremely well. I think the one that maybe combines the most good for me is the leadoff heifer we're going to start with that the young man brings us. I think a female that, in comparison to the one directly behind her, she's maybe just a touch bigger and bolder in her body shape. I think a female that comes back square in her pin set, and it just builds on just a more attractive look as we get off the side of her. I don't know that she's maybe quite as stout in terms of her feature and her bone work, maybe in comparison to the heifer right in behind her. And those are the features that I really like about the young lady's heifer that's going to be in second. I think she's definitely maybe a touch stouter. I think just a long-bodied, a really smooth-made female in comparison. Unfortunately, maybe a female that just gets a touch weaker right in her loin. She gets rounder in her hip. Aesthetically, I don't know that she gives me quite as good of a look from the side as that heifer right in front of her. A really tough and competitive pair. Both those cattle have a lot of quality. Congratulations to both those exhibitors.
Thank you. Winning that last class is Briar Fisher. He receives a purple. Second goes to Karsten Poston. She receives a purple. Next young man coming in is John Peterson. He's got a commercial heifer. I got a little information on John here. He's got his own farm account. He purchased this heifer with his own money. And I guess you got about 12 cows in your herd. Is that right, John? You need a partner or anything? Huh? Well, that's good. By golly, he's going to build a herd and hopefully go to college when he gets old enough, and he'll be able to pay his own way.
Young man brings us a nice single entry, and I think some of the fundamental attributes of being a good breeding female or having a good structural build, and as we start there with this female, I think she definitely has those things. My favorite aspect or favorite parts of this female are definitely at the ground. I think relative to her size, she's really stout in her bone work. She sets down on a good foot, and she gets out and utilizes her feet and legs extremely sound and extremely functional. I can't call her just truly practical or truly functional. I think she needs to complement more rib and body on top of that structural build, and for me, just to make her just a touch more functional in her kind, maybe like to just drop her down in her flank. I think there at the ground, though, is her strongest attributes. A really nice start to a nice female. Congratulations to this young man.
Winning that class is Mr. John Peterson. He received a blue on his heifer. The second class of commercial heifers, the first young guy in there, that's Jackson Fisher. And the young lady is Taylor Yates. The young lady up here at the announcer stand, Katie Hart, her and her crew do a lot of hard work in the extension office, and I understand today's quite a day, right? Anything special today?
Oh, it is a special day.
Yeah, it is a special day. It's your anniversary, isn't it?
Yes, that's right.
How many years?
I don't.
She forgot. It's supposed to be the husband that forgets, not the wife.
I think it's 17.
You think it's 17. You're not sure, though. Hey, congratulations to you. Katie does a lot of work, her and the gals down there at the extension office, not only here at the fair, but throughout the year. And it's, what you say, a thankless job, but we want to thank you and all your people that work down there.
A nice pair of females, and the one that we lead off with, I think, is just more functional in her kind. As she gets out on the go, I think a female that gets out with maybe just a touch more flex to her hip and her hind leg. I prefer a structural build over the heifer that comes in two. I think she's a female that's maybe a touch more genuine in her condition. I think a female that's just a touch longer in her spine, and because of that, she balances up maybe just a little bit better as we stop her and get her here on the profile. A really nice class winner there that the young lady brings us. Congratulations to her. The young man that comes in second, really moderate type of female. He's got this one presented really, really nice. I think a female that is really just good in her skin and her hair. I appreciate those things about her. She's got a lot of rib and a lot of body. I wish she was a touch stouter in her bone work. I wish she utilized her rear leg maybe just a touch better, and I'd maybe trim her back just a touch comparatively, but a tough competitive pair. Congratulations to both those exhibitors.
First in that class went to Taylor Yates with a purple. Second went to Jackson Fisher with a blue. Our judge now will be selecting the grand champion breeding heifer. Oh, excuse me. This is the champion commercial heifer.
As we get here into our commercial drive, I think a nice pair of females. I think both of these females share some similarities in regards to their structural build. Again, I think at the ground, I think both of these females read to be really sound and really correct in their structural build. I appreciate those things about both of these females quite a bit. I think the big difference between them, though, for me to just truly deem one more just functional in her kind, I think there's one that has maybe a touch more rib, a touch more body. She's just bolder everywhere, and that's going to be the female that comes out of our second class. She's going to be our champion. Congratulations to that young lady.
Champion commercial heifer goes to Taylor Yates. Jackson Fisher will now be entering the ring. His heifer stood second to Taylor in class and should be competing for reserve. Another thing I forgot to announce, our beef superintendent, Mr. Austin Sorensen, him and his wife are expecting a little one latter part of August, right, Austin? Do you know what it is yet? That's all right. Big surprise then. Just hope everything's okay for you. You've been practicing with the diapers? Good thing they don't have safety pins anymore, right?
For reserve commercial heifer, I think it gets a little bit closer. The young man up front, I think, has a sounder female. She's definitely stouter in her pin set. She's stouter in her feature. I think she's bigger boned. She's got a more appropriate set to her hind leg, and I like those things about that heifer. I wish she hooked in right in behind her shoulder, maybe just a touch more level. I wish, relative to her size, that female had a touch more rib and a touch more body. alternative to that, I think the female that comes out of that second class, she kind of is all the things that you wish that you had in that heifer. She is, in that regard, she is bigger bodied. I think a female that does hook up her top line maybe just a touch more appropriate. I think from a balance standpoint, she hits you maybe just a nickel harder. Where I call the pair close and honestly go back and forth quite a bit, I think this female gets a touch frailer at the ground. I don't know that she utilizes her rear leg maybe quite as well. And then from a condition standpoint, maybe just like to dial her back just a little bit. I still think soundness of structure is really, really important. And I think there's one that has just a fundamental advantage over the other one in that regard. Young man comes out of the first class. He's going to be our reserve champion female in a close decision. Congratulations.
Reserve in the commercials went to John Peterson. Our judge will now be selecting the overall champion breeding heifer. We have Jolene Fisher in here, right here on the east side. Donna Damewood, Briar Fisher, and Taylor Yates. Sponsoring the Grand Champion breeding heifer is Nelson Sementals and Angus. Is Chris Nelson and his wife around? If you are, why, I'd like to get your pictures taken back here after the champion heifer is pronounced. And reserve is sponsored by Dave and Kathy Hart of Hart Farms.
Well, as we finish up here with our heifer show, again, my congratulations goes to you young people. A really nice group of females that are represented out here. Those of you ringside, big round of applause for these exhibitors, and a really nice group of females. As we run through the lineup, I think we've got a lot of quality. I think the young lady up front that comes out of the first class in the first division, just a really nice balanced female. I think she's got a great, just attractive look up through her front end. She might be the best and the most female-like, just the way her head and her neck is shaped and the way that she blends back into her shoulder. I like her smoothness. I like her length of body. I think she comes back into her hip and her tail head, maybe one of the best that we've seen today. And yet I think she's still really sound on an individual basis. Maybe a couple small things just aesthetically that we'd like to change about her structural build. I don't think it detracts away from her functionality. Maybe in comparison to some of the other cattle out here, she's maybe not the deepest. I don't know that that's particularly a bad thing. I really like a lot of things about her, maybe just like to tweak her in a couple of places. The red heifer right in behind her, one of the more moderate females in the group. I think a female that has tons of rib and body. I think a female that has plenty of stoutness to her bone work. You like those things about that heifer. Maybe in comparison to the black heifers on either side of her, I think a female that gets just a touch plainer about her front end or neck just gives up some of the quality that we see in maybe some of the other cattle around her. But I think a very fundamentally correct heifer there that the young lady brings us. The young man that comes out of, I think, the semi-division or the percentage semi-division, I think just a really big-bodied, a really practical female. I like the way that that one balances, and it's because of her rib and her body and her added depth that she balances up just so appropriately and so smooth. I think she does have maybe a touch more chest in her than I probably prefer. I'd like to just dial her back just a little bit in a perfect world, but outside of that, that's one really nice breeding female. And then the young lady here out of the commercial division, I think a really moderate, stout-made type female. She's really sound and correct in her structural build. Maybe she's not as fresh as the other heifers right in front of her, but I think a female that's very fundamentally correct. She's sound. She's got plenty of rib and body. She still embraces what a good breeding female should look like, and I appreciate those things about her. Maybe just a couple of aesthetic things that we'd like to change. With that being said, I think a really tough competitive lineup. There's one for me that really stands out. I'll go show you which one that is. Another big round of applause for all these kiddos.
Grand champion breeding heifer goes to Briar Fisher with his Simmental Foundation. The second place in the registered Simmental Foundation is Karsten Poston coming in and competing for reserve.
For reserve, I think things get maybe a little bit closer. I think the black heifer up front that we talked about and the heifer that just came in that was reserve in that breed and our Sim Solution breed right in behind our champion, I think it's close between those two. I think the heifer that comes in that was reserve behind our champion, she's got tons of rib and body. There's tons of power in that female, and I like those things about her. Maybe in comparison directly to the female that we had already talked about, she's a touch stouter in her feature, and she's definitely bolder. And I think both of those things, despite the fact she's a touch weaker in her loin and rounder in her hip, I think she still balances up maybe just a little bit better because she is deeper, she's softer in her kind. I would like to change her in a couple of regards. I think chest could be set in maybe just a touch more appropriate, and I think the way she transitions into her loin, into her tail head, could be maybe a touch square and maybe a touch smoother. And that's where I think it gets really close because the young lady up front here definitely has a female that silhouettes really, really nicely. Just her female quality and female shape up front, I think, is really unrivaled in the group. I think she has some just strong female attributes that you really like. If she got out on the go, maybe just a little bit better, I would be more inclined to go ahead and slide her in that reserve hole. But I still think there's so much more maybe to the other female right in behind her. That's my decision. Young lady here is going to be our reserve champion. Congratulations to her.
Reserve Grand Champion breeding heifer was shown by Karsten Poston. Congratulations to those kids. We're now going to take pictures. Again, the sponsor for the Grand Champion breeding heifer is Nelson Simmentals, and reserve sponsored by Dave and Kathy Hart of Hart Farm. Stephanie Pollock would like to say a little something to you.
Good morning, everybody. I just want to announce that the Stinnett Panthers 4-H Club are selling Montgomery County 4-H hats for $15 for a fundraiser for the new fair sign that was recently put up. So please come see me or Jen Bruce if you would like a hat.
You bet. How many do you take, Jake? Jake Lingern takes a dozen. If Delaney Yates will bring her cow-calf over, and Tana Damewood will get started on the cow-calf pairs. But our county fair queen come over here. She's a talking over there. County fair queen, Miss Carlson, come here. Congratulations on you being the Montgomery County Fair Queen. You want to tell a few things of what you've got to do now from now to State Fair and things like that?
Well, I'm pretty sure I have to get to know some of the girls that I'm gonna be around, and then I have to get some more outfits, and then I think I do like interviews and stuff. I'm not quite sure. I've been kind of focused on this week before I've looked into that, but.
Are you wore out yet?
Yeah, just a little bit.
How's Grandma doing?
Good.
Is she home yet? Is she home yet?
No.
Still in the hospital, huh? My wife and her were really good friends and still are, and all the way through high school and everything, and we sure do want to wish her the best. She's had a struggle, hasn't she?
Yeah, thank you.
Well, congratulations to you, and you'll do a fine job of representing Montgomery County at the Iowa State Fair contest. I'll be looking forward to you being the fair queen up there. You'd be a good one.
Thank you so much.
I've just been at home patching it with the dogs, so it was.
We'll only be about, what?
Cow calf. That is Delaney Yates. With her Charolais cross cow, and looks like a shorthorn cross calf.
nice single entry cow-calf pair. I think as we talk about the cow, I think really sound type of female. I think a really good udder in her. I think a female that is in really good condition. Calf obviously is performing really well. I think the cow is on her third calf, I think the young lady said. And so I think maybe for a cow that is getting 4 to 5 years in age, she's still looking really good, staying in really good shape and really good condition. I think most impressive, though, is the calf there by her side. I think the shorthorn female is one that balances up really, really nicely. She's got a great female look up to her front end. I think a female that balances up incredibly well and offers a lot of quality. That's a really nice pair. Congratulations to both these young people.
Nice cow-calf pair there, shown by Delaney Yates. She receives a purple ribbon. The next class is Tana Damewood with her cow-calf class, or pair. For you that got here late, our judge today is Mr. Marcus Arnold from Winterset, Iowa. He judges quite a few shows, has judged and will be judging, and is doing a real nice job of selecting the cattle and working with the kids.
Another really nice cow-calf pair. Again, the cow, a purebred shorthorn cow. You don't see that very often. Most of the time you get some type of percentage in there. So nice to see a purebred. I think a female, though, that 5-year-old cow in really good shape. Again, tons of rib and body in this female. I think a female that's really sound. She's in really good condition for having kind of an older calf there by her side. I think the March calf is one that really balances up really well. Just another high-quality calf and a really good pair. We'll see this one back here in a little bit. Congratulations again, both these exhibitors.
Winning a purple and winning that class is Donna Damewood, and our judge now will be selecting the Grand and Reserve Grand cow-calf pair. Sponsoring the Grand Champion cow-calf pair is Great Western Bank. Is there anybody here from Great Western Bank? If you are, we'd like back here by the backdrop so we can get your picture in the paper. And Reserve is sponsored by Dave and Kathy Hart. Again, thanks to all these sponsors.
two pairs as we bring them back out here to get a champion in reserve, both of which came out of single classes or one entry classes. But I definitely think both of these cattle or both of these pairs offer a lot of quality. I think there's some differences amongst the pairs, both of which are 5-year-old cows. The Charolais kind of cow up in the front, I think, is one that you appreciate for length of body, her stoutness of feature. I think she's one that is really sound in terms of her structural build. I like those attributes about her, and yet I'm probably the most impressed with the calf there by her side. I think a little shorthorn, kind of roan female that has a lot of quality as you get off the side of her. It's probably the most impressive attribute about that cow is she stayed in really good shape. She's got a really nice udder, and she's got a really impressive calf. The purebred shorthorn cow is one that I think is just a very fundamentally correct type of cow. I think she's really moderate. She has a lot of rib and a lot of body. I think she's another female that has stayed in great shape for another calf there by her side, or a 3-year-old calf there. Pardon me, a March calf there by her side. And for the third calf that she's had, again, she stayed in phenomenal shape. I think a female, though, that maybe in comparison isn't quite as stout, but love the female look up through her front end. Maybe the calf, again, just another quality type of calf. Doesn't maybe balance up maybe quite as good as the other calf, but those are two really, really nice pairs. I think you could go either way here. The pair that probably impresses me the most is going to be the one that comes out of our first class. That'll be our champion, and then we'll go back to the second class for reserve. Congratulations.
Champion cow-calf goes to Delaney Yates. Reserve goes to Tana Damewood. Again, they are sponsored by Great Western Bank and Dave and Kathy Hart. They'll get pictures taken with the judge, and then we'll go into our 3 feeder calves. Is back now, and we go into our feeder heifer class. There's 3 of them. Tana Damewood has 2, and Delaney Yates has 1.
A nice group of heifers here in our feeder heifer show. I think all three of these females are really nice, and yet amongst the trio, I think that there's two that really kind of stand out. Since we only have one class, and both of which that are going to be our champion reserve are going to come out of this class, I'll just talk them each individually, or all three of them individually, and then tell you how I like them after we finish up. The black and white heifer up front, a female that comes in, she's really up-headed, she's got just a really attractive look up front. I think female that in comparison to the two behind her, she's maybe the stoutest in her bone work. I think one that has a really attractive set to her hind leg. I think a female that maybe she's not the boldest in terms of her body shape in comparison to another female, but I think a female that has a great deal of quality. I like that female quite a bit. Just a really nice heifer calf that the young lady brings us. The young man here coming in next, I think is substitute showing maybe for the young lady up front, but another heifer calf that's really green in her condition, but I think really just fundamentally correct. I think a nice, attractive type of heifer. I think maybe one that, in comparison to both the cattle on either side of her, just gets a little bit plainer, but it's not to discredit her. I think she's got a lot of good in her. I think she's going to be just a really good, fundamental, just a good breeding type female for that young lady, but really nice calf. And then we come in with the kind of strawberry roan one, or the red roan one, here in third, or not in third, but in the third position that we're talking. I think a female that, again, we saw her a little bit earlier. Love the look of balance in her. She's got just a tremendous amount of rib. She's got good look. Maybe gets a little bit stubborn here within this respective class, and maybe not wanting to present herself the best right now, but I think that female's got a lot of good. I particularly like the fact that she's got stouter pin set, maybe than both the cattle directly in front of her. I like the fact that she's got a bolder rib shape, and I think a female that blends that together really smoothly with a lot of just look of quality. Maybe she gives up some bone to the female up front, and maybe there's some trade-offs between those two. Young man here in the middle is going to be third. I think it gets really close between the other two. Young lady up front is going to be our champion feeder calf. Young lady with the black and white heifer is going to be our reserve feeder calf. Big round of applause for all three of them.
Nice class of feeder calf, feeder heifers there. Champion goes to Delaney Yates. Reserve goes to Tana Damewood. And third place goes to Tana Damewood, all three of them purples. Congratulations to those kids. If there's anybody here representing Miller Financial Group, please go down to the picture taken backdrop over here and get your picture taken. Now we're moving into the bucket bottle calves. First one into the ring is William Pollock. Whoa, Grandma or Mom yelled there. Next one is Victoria McFarland. Next one is Kennedy Adams and Braden Adams. Victoria McFarland in there. I see her grandpa down there taking a picture of you. Turn around. Did Grandpa buy that calf for you or give you that calf? That tightwad gave you a calf? Jiminy criminy, we're going to have to put that in the paper. William, smile. You're on candid camera. Atta boy. Is that your mom there? It is. She used to be down at the bank. She was my loan officer. Now she's up at Farm Credit. I want to say one thing, William. Your mother is one of the nicest persons I've ever run into. She's got a heart that's full of love and everything, and she's this mom here looks just like you. Nope, I meant that. You are really a nice young lady, and I bet you're just as nice up at Farm Credit too, aren't you? Yeah, you try. What was it you were telling me earlier? Loans are down to 2% now?
No, I didn't tell you that. You're getting me in trouble.
Getting you in trouble. We have one class here of bucket bottle calves. Sponsoring the bucket bottle calves are Dale and Margaret Spencer. I see them sitting right down there. They've been to the fair here for many, many years.
Real good group of bucket calves, and I think a tougher class to judge and to evaluate. I think all four of these young people are doing an exceptional job. So before I talk any of them, why don't you folks ringside? Big round of applause for all four of them. I think it gets really tough and really competitive. I think maybe as we get out here, a combination of a few things really kind of sort maybe one or two up to the top in a really tough and competitive group. All these young people are receiving purples for their bucket calf project, but there's really two that probably stand out amongst the group. The young lady here in the middle, she's going to be your champion. I think she's one that's got a calf that's got a lot of performance, and young lady's really knowledgeable about her project. A really good combination. Young lady does a really nice job. Congratulations to that young lady. She'll be your champion. For reserve, I think it gets a little bit closer. Maybe both of the kids on either side of her. I think the young lady in front of her, really knowledgeable about her project as well. I think the calf has some performance. Maybe not as much as the young man's there back towards the end, and that gets maybe a little bit closer. I think all three of them, for that matter, in terms of knowledge of their project and what they're doing, do a phenomenal job. Unfortunately, maybe the red calf gives up some performance in comparison to the two others. The one that I like second best, though, be the other young lady here in the middle. Congratulations to her. Big round of applause one more time for our bucket calf exhibitors.
Four really good kids. William, get him. William, come here. Champion went to Kennedy Adams. Reserve went to Victoria McFarland. And all of them received purples. Hey, here's my great-granddaughter. Right here. Lily, turn around. How are you? Hey, I was looking at you in the ring in there. Come down here in the ring. We got a little time. I already talked to the judge, and he said that's fine. You know something? I was looking at you, and you and me kind of are built alike, aren't we?
I guess so.
You think so, huh? How old are you?
11.
You got any money on you?
Not on me.
Well, for an interview, why it costs $10. Now what am I going to do? I'm going to have to lend you $10, right?
He's going to charge you interest.
Yeah, I'm going to charge you interest like your mom did me. Here's $10. But you got to do something for me. You go out there and throw it down in the wood chips. Go out there and throw it down. Jump up and down on it. Remember where you put it now. All right, pick it up and clean it off. Put it in your pocket. Now you can go back to the barn and tell everybody how filthy rich you got at the Montgomery County Fair. Good job. You and the rest of the kids did a good job. Bring 4 calves next year, will you? Our judge is judging the champion beginner steer, the only steer, Jackson Fisher.
As we get started here into our market show, a really fun class, I think. I always like the beginner showman class, and I think it does a lot of things. I think it does a lot for the young people to get the experience to come out amongst themselves and get a little ring time without the clutter of maybe a lot of other cattle. But I also think it gives you guys as folks ringside the opportunity to encourage Jackson here. I think for the long-term sustainability of our show projects and developing youth in agriculture, we need to just wrap our arms around young people that are getting started, encourage them, and we hope that he keeps with it as he grows and matures. And I think this is a really awesome way to highlight that and showcase this young man and what he's doing. Outside of that, I think a really good calf. I think a really moderate, big-bodied, stout calf, a calf almost there to 1,200 pounds that is very appropriate in regards to his degree of finish, and yet he complements it with plenty of muscle as you get in behind him. Jackson, great job there with your first year project. You've done an awesome job, bud. Congratulations.
Way to go, Jackson. First year, boy, did he bring a good one here to the fair. Received a purple. Sponsoring the champion beginner is Body Basics Chiropractic. If you're here, why, go back here to the backdrop so we can get your picture. Body Basics Chiropractic. Next class in is a market heifer. Just one market heifer this year. Delaney Yates. Her market heifer weighed 1,287 pounds and had a gain of 3 pounds a day.
touch more flex there to her pass turns as she gets out on the go. But a really nice single entry. We'll see her back here in a little bit. Congratulations.
The Lady Yates with the champion market heifer receives a purple. And the sponsor of the champion market heifer is AgriVision Equipment. Again, we're going to take pictures after the beef show, in the market show. This is our home raised division. Just one in this class. It's Jackson Fisher. His steer weighs 1166, had a gain of 3.31. That's our beginner again, Jackson Fisher, and I think he could play football for Iowa State the way he stopped that calf.
Young man comes back in. Again, he's doing a really nice job. Single entry calf. I think a steer that is really lean. I think a steer that's really expressive in regards to his muscle shape, and I like that about this steer quite a bit. I think compositionally might like to see him touch more back there to his 12th and his 13th. I think outside of those things, a steer that could maybe use just a touch more fill back into his flank, but I think a very lean, high cut ability steer, really expressive in his kind, a good market weight on him. Young man's doing a nice job. We'll see him here back in a little bit. Congratulations.
That was Jackson Fisher with his steer. He receives a purple. Next class, we got two calves, Chloe Bruce and Madison Doyle.
$10. I couldn't not get you.
Thank you.
Also, here's the
No,
change.
that's yours. That's yours.
No, go ahead. You have
That's
it.
yours.
I can't.
I gave it to you. Take it. That's
Thanks.
yours. Thanks for the ice cream.
As we work our way into the second class of home race steers, I think there's a really nice one to go ahead and lead off and win. The young lady here with the smoky steer is maybe one that's given her a few fits, and young lady, that's fine. You can stop here if you want to. I know steer's not one to cooperate with you quite as well, but a really big body, just a nicely presented steer, ultra stout, really powerful. I think his combination of quality and power and his correctness of finish slot him into that one hole pretty comfortably over the steer that we have in two. Just a really high quality type of steer. We'll see him here back in a little bit, talk about him here further, but a really nice steer there that leads off. Young lady that comes in second, I think a really long bodied steer. I think a steer that is really expressive in terms of his shape. I think a steer that might be just a touch flatter in terms of his body. He's leaner compositionally. I think a higher cutability steer maybe in comparison. Relative to his size, maybe like to see him with a touch more rib and a touch more body. He just needs to be stouter in his skeleton. He needs to be just more powerful in comparison to that steer directly in front of him. A good pair though, especially the one up top. Congratulations.
Two really nice steers there. Chloe Bruce wins the class. She receives a purple. Madison Doyle receives a blue. The next class, Anna Poston. Her steer weighs 1394 and had a gain of 3.08.
Young lady brings a nice single entry steer. I think a steer that's getting into a heavier weight, and that's why he's in a class of his own. But I think a steer that has tons of depth of rib. He's one that is really smooth as you get off the side of him. I think a steer that profiles with some levelness to his top, and he's really correct in his pin set as you study him from behind and from both sides, and I guess from the side and from behind as well. I think a steer that's still fundamentally correct in terms of being really sound in a structural build. Individually, maybe like to see him with a touch more power. I think a steer that compositionally is probably pretty close to where he needs to be, but a steer that could maybe use a touch more stoutness. Nice single entry steer. Congratulations to that young lady.
That was Aniston Poston with her steer, and he received a purple ribbon. Now our judge will be picking the champion home-raised market steer. From the first class, we got Jackson Fisher, just coming in with his red baldy steer there. Coming in from the second class is Chloe Bruce. And Aniston Poston with the third class winner. They're going for champion home raised.
As we finish up here in our home raised division, I think three really nice calves. I think all three of them are fundamentally correct. They probably all have enough muscle. They're all compositionally correct cattle, and yet I think maybe there's two, and in particular one, that really just raises the bar in all those aspects, and yet brings an element of quality into the conversation that I think really goes unrivaled. I think there's one in here that is a standout and makes a really impressive homegrown steer. Young lady that comes out of Class 2, she's going to be our champion. Congratulations to her. My second favorite in the lineup is still out here, and I'm going to go ahead and talk to this one. I think a calf that maybe needs a little bit more time, but the young man that comes out of our first class, he's my second favorite in the homegrown division. Congratulations to him.
Champion home raised goes to Chloe Bruce, reserve to Jackson Fisher. Sponsor them in that home raised division is Rod and Janine Hart. This will be our purchase division. Only one in this class. That's Slade Graham. His steer weighs 1,280 pounds and gained 2.50.
As we get started here in the purchase division in our first class, again, a nice single entry, a really stout hip type steer. I think one that's really powerful, and that's my favorite attribute of this guy. As you get right in behind him and get your hands on him, he's ultra powerful in the way he feeds his shape right in behind his shoulder. He's really stout in his pin set, and he's really expressive in terms of his shape as you get right in behind him. As a steer that's maybe approaching 1,300 pounds, I guess I was maybe a little bit surprised at how lean he is in his condition. Maybe like to see him just a touch more, or a touch fresher. Definitely think he's one that could have maybe a little bit more on him from a finish standpoint. I definitely think, though, a steer that just really powerful. Love the expression, love the shape in him. A fun steer, really nicely presented. We'll see him here in a little bit. Congratulations.
First in that class went to Slade Graham. He receives the purple. The second class in the purchase division. First in is Jolie Fisher. Steer weighed 1308. Oh, they got them switched around. The first gal came in is Lainey DeFries. The second calf that came in is Jolie Fisher. Jolie Fisher's calf weighed 1308, gained 3.02. Lainey DeFries' calf weighed 1314 and gained 2.64.
both purples. A really fun pair of steers to evaluate, and I think there's some trade-offs between the two. I haven't told you guys which way I prefer them yet. I'm going to go ahead and talk them, and then we'll tell you how I prefer them. We'll start with the young lady up front. I think just in terms of freshness and look of balance, I mean, this steer is really, really impressive. He's still really just fresh and youthful up front. I think a steer that is plenty big in terms of his rib and body, but his silhouette and the way that steer pieces together as he gets out on the go, I think reads really, really impressive. He's really sound. He's really functional in the way he utilizes his feet and legs. I think probably is the most correct. I think a steer that reads with a ton of shape right in behind his shoulder. And I think if you were comparing muscle differences between the two, that would be his advantage, as he's got maybe a touch more freshness and a touch more shape right in behind his shoulder. I think probably the most disappointing thing about that calf is you step right in behind him. He's maybe not as stout as you initially think. He comes back narrower to his pin set, and he's one that gets maybe a touch flatter through his lower quarter. I'd maybe like to stouten him up as you get right in behind him. Really like the build, really like the freshness in that guy. Maybe just a touch disappointed on an individual basis as you get right in behind him. Alternative to him, you have a really rugged type of steer that the young lady brings us. This one's so bold in terms of his body. He's really stout as you get in behind him. He's stouter in his pin set, and he's more expressive through his lower quarter, and I appreciate those things about this steer quite a bit. He's probably more appropriate from a finish standpoint. I think he's pretty just spot on. I don't know that he reads maybe quite as fresh up through his front end as maybe the steer that we talked about. I don't know that he's maybe quite as bold or as shapely right in behind his shoulders, that steer we talked about as well. Maybe some small trade-offs there between the two. Initial look of quality, I guess, really drew me to the steer that comes out in front. I'm going to go ahead and stick with that initial impression. In a really tough and competitive class, young lady's going to be 1, the other young lady behind her is going to be 2. Congratulations to both those exhibitors.
Real nice class of steers there. First goes to Laney DeFries with a purple. Second to Jolie Fisher, also with a purple. Next is our last class of purchase steers. We got Chloe Bruce come in with her red steer weighing 1327, had a gain of 2.6. And Taylor Yates with her steer weighed 1341 and had a gain of 3.45. This is our last class of purchase steers.
So we work our way into this last class. I think the orange steer comes to the front pretty quick. He's just so much more massive than the steer that comes in second. I think not only is he more massive, but he just offers more quality as well. I love the power to his body, the stoutness to that steer, the dimension. I think just a really nice presented steer that reads really correct from the side, and yet he's really stout. Just a nice, fundamentally correct type of steer there that wins that class. Black steer that comes in two, I think a really long-bodied steer. I think one that is really lean compositionally. I think one that has some shape and expression up high. I don't know that he's devoid of muscle. Maybe in comparison to that steer, he gives up some, but I think he's still very fundamentally correct. He just gets out-horsed within this respective class. Really tough class winner there to get around, but a nice steer there that still ends up in second. Really good competitive class. Congratulations.
Winning that class went to Chloe Bruce with a purple, Taylor Yates with a blue, and the steer that stood second in that last class was our champion rate of gain steer. Right, let's give her a nice round of applause on the rate of gain champion. Our judge now will be selecting the Grand and Reserve purchase steers. The champion purchase steer is sponsored by Red Oak Express.
As we finish up here in our own division or our purchase division, I think a really good group of steers, all very fundamentally correct. I think maybe some trade-offs amongst the trio. Not to discredit anything from the young man that comes out of the first class. I think that, again, is a very nice, expressive type of steer. I think just from a market standpoint, he's a really good market animal. Gives up some of the quality that we see in the two cattle directly in behind him. So if I spend more time discussing these two in comparison, I think it probably boils down to these two offering a little bit more quality and it maybe being a little bit closer between the two out of Class 2 and Class 3. The steer out of Class 2, I think he's one that's really intriguing. There's no question that he's the freshest steer in the lineup. He's definitely the most youthful. I also think he's the soundest steer in the lineup, and I particularly like that thing about him. I think a steer that you really appreciate as he gets out on the go, the way that he's built in his skeleton. I think a steer that you really appreciate just the correctness to his skeletal build. I think a steer that as you get your hands on him, it handles extremely bold up high, and I love his shape. Gets maybe a touch more narrow back to his pin set and a touch flatter through his lower quarter, and that's my only complaint about that steer. I think one that builds up and adds up a lot of good. Steer that comes out of our third class, he's kind of the meat wagon and the power steer of the group. Definitely the boldest in his body shape. He's one that's so massive in his back shape. He's stouter in his pin set than the steer that I just discussed, and he's definitely more expressive. I don't know that he's maybe quite as youthful or quite as attractive up through his front end, but definitely so much bolder from that point back. As he gets out on the go, my only reservation on him is the way he utilizes his rear leg. I'd like to freshen that steer up, and I'd like to set him down just a nickel smoother. I think those are the things that you could make a kind of a decision between. If you want to kind of use the more attractive steer that's a little bit sounder, you definitely side with the steer that comes out of Class 2. If you're kind of more of a meat and potatoes guy that just needs to have a little bit added power in him, then you probably go with the steer out of Class 3. I think there's one for every person. I think both of those cattle are extremely, extremely good. Both of them offer a great deal of quality. Young lady out of Class 3, though, for me, just in terms of power and just overall dimension, probably suits me a little bit better today. She'll be our champion. Congratulations.
Champion purchase steer goes to Chloe Bruce. Taylor Yates will be bringing in her second place steer to compete for reserve. Again, that's our rate of gain champion right there.
Rate of gain champion comes in, and I think a really nice, again, very fundamentally correct market steer. Again, there's a lot of things to love about steer that comes out of Class 2, and I'm really, really high on him. Young lady, I think there's a lot of good in that steer that you have. I like him quite a bit. He's going to be reserved. Congratulations.
Reserve purchase went to Laney DeFries. Again, the champion in your home raised division was sponsored by Red Oak Express. Next thing our judge will be doing will be selecting the overall Grand and Reserve market animals. Okay, I'll do the rate of gain champion was Taylor Yates. Pardon? They not okay. Second went to Jackson Fisher. Third to Aniston Poston. Fourth to Jolene Fisher. And a tie with Madison Doyle for fourth. Jackson Fisher at fifth. Laney Yates sixth. Laney DeFries seventh. Chloe Bruce eighth. Chloe Bruce ninth. And 10th went to Slade Graham. Okay, here we go for all the marbles. First young man in the ring is Jackson Fisher with his beginner steer. That steer weighed 1166, gained 2.99. Okay. Next one in is Delaney Yates with her market effort, weighed 1287 and gained 3 pounds. Next one was Chloe Bruce. She's got a substitute there, Mr. Yates, showing her home race champion. And Chloe Bruce with her purchase champion. Our judge will be now selecting our champion market animal. Let's give our judge, Marcus Arnold, a nice round of applause. I think he's done a nice job of judging the cattle and working with our kids. Sponsoring the Grand Champion Market Animal is Andrew Hersberg. Is Andrew around? There he is. He's the head dog in the county deal this year, right? Fair Board. Good job. Thanks for your support. Here's our judge.
Those of you ringside, another time, big round of applause for all these exhibitors. A job well done. They certainly deserve it. I think as we finish up, we have started with our beginner class, and the young man, I think his name was Jackson, came in and did a really nice job. It was fun to get to talk with him. He's got a really nice show project, and I think a steer that offers some balance and some look. He may gives up a touch more quality to a couple of the cattle right in behind him, but young man, you're doing a great job, and it's a really nice steer that you have. Young lady coming in here with the market heifer, I think a really moderate type of female. I think a female that reads really smooth from the side. Again, she may give up some quality to the pair of steers right in behind her, but I think a really nice type of just market heifer that the young lady brings us. For our champion overall drive, I think it gets maybe a little bit closer between the two right in behind. The young lady that we just talked about, the young man, that silver steer there, really nicely presented type of steer. Love the freshness, love the youthfulness. I think a steer that is really stout. He's really powerful. I don't know that he may be toes ahead quite as just square and true as I'd prefer. Maybe like to change just the shape and just a couple small things in terms of a structural build, but a really nice type of steer there. Love just the freshness in him. Really nice type of steer. The orange steer, again, we talked about him being just a power steer, and I think he is that. Love just the top shape, love the stoutness to him. A steer that's ultra bold in terms of his body, and I love those things about him, and yet he's able to blend being the most massive steer with still offering just a great look of quality. He looks like a good fat steer should. As he gets it on the go, he gets maybe a little bit off in terms of his rear leg placement. I'd like to just change him in that regard and just freshen that steer up just ever so slightly, but that one's really, really impressive. I grew up in Texas showing slick cattle, so I probably have more of a preference towards stouter and more powerful steers, and there's one that I think just suits the bill for me. Young lady with the orange steer is going to be our grand. Congratulations.
Grand Champion Market Animal goes to Chloe Bruce. Now coming into the ring is Laney DeFries to compete for reserve. Again, sponsoring the Grand Champion Market Animal is Andrew Hersberg, Vitaferm Minerals. Thanks to Andrew. Sponsoring the reserve is Mark and Amy Lydell of Lydell Auction Services. If you're around, right after this, they'll take pictures.
For reserve, that black steer comes in, and as we were talking about him within that purchase division, I said how much I just love his look of balance. I think a steer that is skeletally maybe the most put together steer that we've seen in the show today, and I love those things about him. I love his structural build. I love the way his feet set down, maybe in comparison to the silver steer in front of him. I think that's where he truly excels, and yet I still think, despite him being just a touch flatter through his lower quarter, he's still maybe a touch more massive in his overall feature and size in comparison to the silver steer. There's still a lot of good to like about that black steer, and I'm still really high on him. Young lady, you're going to be our reserve. Congratulations.
Reserve goes to Lainey DeFries with her black steer. One sponsor I forgot to announce, the Rate of Gain champion sponsor was Kirk and Linda Baird. Okay, if any of the sponsors are going to take pictures of all the champions. Dennis Quist, come here. Dennis is he's the head dog up at the shootout in Council Bluffs. He's going to tell you a little bit about this deal. Come on up here and sit down. You're an old man. We got time. This is quite a big deal. The champion market animal, champion breeding, and all of that get to go to the shootout.
What do you want me to say? You want me to talk about it, huh? We're going to talk about the shootout here. In 2 weeks, 2 weeks ago from tomorrow, we're going to have a shootout. What we do is we bring all the champion animals from 11 different county fairs up to West Pot. Be at West Pot Fairgrounds a week from next Sunday, the 1st of August. We want to try to bring these exhibitors in that are going to be competing. We got 8 classes up there. We're going to take all the grand champions out of the lamb, the goat, the hog, and the cattle departments here, and they're all going to go for the grand poobah, I guess what you would say, out of Southwest Iowa. If we could get the exhibitors to come up here, we got Allie Sandin, Jolie Fisher, Garrett True, Tyler Beeson. We got Kennedy DeFries, Leah Sandin, Chloe Bruce, and Briar Fisher. See if we can't get those kids into the ring, please, so we can introduce them. "11 county fairs out of Southwest Iowa." We're going to have West Pot, East Pot, Adair, Mills, Montgomery, Adams, Union, Fremont, Page, and Taylor counties. We're going to have a guy by the name of Ryan Rash coming up here. He's a nationally known judge, and hopefully we give these kids a pretty good experience. We're trying to give these kids basically a state fair experience at a county fair level here. We would like everybody to come up and support our local people if at all possible. It'll start at 11:30 on Sunday morning. We got to be out of there by 4 o'clock, so it'll be a relatively short day. How many more do we got? We got 4 more kids to come in. Some of them are taking pictures, aren't they? You got Clooney. We got Breyer. We need Garrett, Jolie, and Kennedy. I don't know what else to say. You're on the radio. Yeah. You go get. Okay. See if we can't get Garrett True in here. Find Garrett True. Nice to get Garrett up here. Could we find him, please? Go back.
Did you give him any homework? I don't see any.
I
of them.
did, but I
Can't find any of them.
I told him they were going to do it in the 30 and half.
Yeah. Yeah. They said we can announce ready to game kids just come get their ribbons. We're already taking pictures. Just tell them they can come up to the table and get their ribbons. They don't need.
You kids that was in the Ready to Gain top 10, you can come up here to the table and get your ribbons. Beginner showman. We have 3 kids here in our beginner showman. All 3 of our showmanship divisions are sponsored by Carol and Isla Jean Renander Memorial. I see Clady's over here to represent the family, right? Anybody else? I seen your wife around here and son. Can't hear? You want one of my hearing aids? This is our beginner showman. So we have Kennedy Adams in there, the young lady, and Brayton Adams. And then we got the little Fisher guy, Jackson Fisher. Marcus, just pick one. Just pick one.
How you doing?
Hey, what are you doing?
As we get started into our showmanship competition, I think a big round of applause is deserved for these three beginners. Those of you ringside, help me out. I think all three of them are doing an exceptional job. I made some comments to each of them individually, and I think it's important that we spend maybe a little bit more time, especially with this beginner group, just helping them on things that they could learn and take something back. I don't know that they need to be at expert level yet, but if they could walk away from a county fair and maybe learn one thing to improve upon as they come back next time, I think that's probably one of the most important things. And as a judge, that's one thing that I try to do, is spend a little bit more time with these younger beginner showmen, just to give them maybe one or two little things that they can just continue to work on. I think it's really important for their progression and their development. As we talk about the three of them and how they kind of fare out, I think all of them do a really exceptional job. I think there's one that comes in and just understands the flow of the ring maybe a little bit better. I know that at times this young person has struggled maybe a little bit more just keeping that one parked, but young man here that circles back around, he's going to be our champion. Big round of applause for him. He's done a nice job today. Another big round of applause here as we finish up and these other two exit. Great group of beginner showmen.
Three really good beginner showmen right there. Champion beginner showman goes to Jackson Fisher. Congratulations to him, and congratulations to the other two exhibitors. Now our judge will be judging the junior and intermediate showman. We have three kids in this division. Over on the west side, we have Taylor Yates. In the middle, we have Jolie Fisher. And with the red animal, we have Aniston Poston. Anasty Poston. Again, our three divisions in showmanship are sponsored by the Renander family, the Carol and Isla Jean Renander Memorial.
One thing, beef exhibitors, we didn't announce, if you got a steer that's going to the carcass competition, even if he's here on the grounds, tomorrow after the sale, we need you to haul them out to the sale barn because we have to run all them through an EID tag them. So as soon as the sale's over, if you can haul them out there for us, we'll get started tagging them and get them loaded on the truck. Thank you.
As we work our way into this intermediate group, another good competitive group of young ladies, and those of you ringside, help me congratulating these three really good showmen. Again, similar style and similar approach that we took with the beginners. I spent a little bit more time just working on some fundamental things that I think we could do and work on. The young lady up front does a nice job of just getting that one out and moving. I think she does a good job of just maintaining some eye contact as she gets in the ring. Position-wise, she gets a little bit off as she gets on the profile and takes maybe a little bit more time to get the feet and legs set up on that steer. And then as we get him stopped and we get him planted, one thing that I told her, that steer, because he's a little bit bigger, wanted to push her around and get a little bit closer to that far rail. And I think just in terms of where she had that steer position, didn't do him just as much justice. So I told her just to be aware of those things. I know that he wants to maybe move his head around a little bit more and push her around, but I think that young lady's doing a nice job. The young lady here in the middle, really natural type of showman. She's got probably just the most competitive just demeanor about her and presentation, and I like that about her. I think that young lady stops that steer and gets him set up about as good as anybody within this respective division, and I commend the young lady there for that. That steer's maybe a little bit more stubborn. He's tired of being in the show ring, and there's times where that one wants to just put his head down and not maybe get out and move. And I'm not going to hold that against her. I remember what it was like being young and showing many years ago, and it was a struggle, and I always hated it when a judge or a showmanship judge would come in and beat me because my steer wasn't wanting to cooperate or he wasn't wanting to walk. You do those things and you put off showmanship to the end of a show, and you've been in the ring a couple of times. He understands what's going on, but I think that young lady just understands the ring, the situation of the ring, and how to work the ring. She does a really good job. Maybe just a couple of things that I told her, but just small things. She does just a phenomenal job. Young lady that comes in next, right in behind her, again, just has a ring presence about her that I think is really just intriguing, and she does a great job of just naturally presenting that heifer. I like those things about her. Young lady gets her feet and legs set up extremely nice. When she gets on the move, she wants to get a little bit closer position to that other steer right in front of her, and I told her she gets in a little bit of a trouble as we walk them around, just in terms of spacing. Maybe need to watch that out and utilize a little bit more of the ring and space the cattle out just a little bit more, but she does a great job as well. All three of these young ladies, awesome showmen. Young lady in the middle, I think, did the best. Big round of applause for her. Congratulations.
Champion in your junior intermediate showmanship division goes to Jolie Fisher. Congratulations to her and the other two exhibitors. Now our judge will be selecting our champion senior showman. I don't know what you folks think, but I think our judges got the hardest decision that he's making today. We really got a very competitive class of senior showmen in here. Let's give those kids a nice round of applause. They're really out to compete.
Thanks, sir. Well, folks, as we finish up the day, first of all, I'd like to say it's been a pleasure to have the opportunity to come back a second year and work with your young people and sort through the cattle. It's been a fun day. I don't know that you could have asked for a better day. Just the weather's awesome this time of year. You've got a great group of kids and a great group of cattle, and that combination makes for a fun and eventful morning. I've really enjoyed it, and I hope you young people and those of you ringside have as well. It's been a fun show and a fun event. As we wrap up the day and finish up with our senior showmanship competition, I think a good group of showmen. I'm not going to spend any more time just as we have a smaller ring and as we get the cattle profiled, it's easier to want to circle the cattle back around, and then it just gets to be a little bit chaotic when we have more of them out here. But I think as we finish up, what a great group of showmen. I think from top to bottom, really, really competitive. I think there's a couple that sort their way up to the top, and it gets kind of competitive in between. But I think there's a winner and a standout winner. This person has impressed me the whole show from the moment they came in class to the moment they're finishing up out here. I think this showman just by far and away just sets the standards and is really, really impressive. With that being said, I'll take one last look, show you which one I'm talking about. One more time, big round of applause for these young kids. Great group of senior showmen.
Champion senior showman goes to Lainey DeFries. She will now be competing for overall grand champion showman. Here we got our beginner showman, Jackson Fisher. Next young lady in is Jolie Fisher and Lainey DeFries. This is for the overall showman. Sponsoring the overall champion showman, we have quite a few sponsors. We have Gloria Jensen Trust. We'll be giving a chair to the champion. Seligren, Lindell DeMars, Ronnie and Sarah DeMars. Be giving $50 cash. State Farm agent Dave Carball will be giving a belt buckle. And the Grant Spitfires will be giving the Mike Keith Memorial Award. That's a traveling trophy. Thanks again to all the sponsors here. Without your support, the fair just couldn't happen. And thanks to the fair board, all of the 4-H leaders and everything here to make it a success.
I may have gotten a little premature with my final remarks, but again, as we finish up here with our champion overall showman, again, it's been a pleasure to have the opportunity to be back. I've really enjoyed working with the show staff and those behind the scenes that are doing all the work that make the show go so smoothly. So those of you ringside, when you get the chance, go thank those people. I know that a lot of times it's a thankless job, and they put a lot of time, work, and energy and effort to make this go smooth and make it a quality event. And I think you guys here at Montgomery County definitely have a quality event with quality kids, and so I commend you guys and those of you behind the scenes to make this happen. As we finish up, I think 3 really good showmen. Beginner showman, Mr. Jackson there, we got to meet and talk over the course of the show. He's doing a great job. I think as we get him back out here, maybe that one's not one to set up with him quite as good as these other 2, but I think he's a great beginner showman. I think he's got a great future ahead of him. Big guy, keep up the good work, because I think you've got a bright future ahead of you. The young lady that wins her intermediate showmanship, really intense showman. I love her level of intensity. She's really competitive, and you can tell she wants to win. I think she does a good job just stopping and presenting that steer. Maybe her natural flow isn't maybe quite as smooth as the senior showman quite yet, but young lady, I think you're one heck of a junior showman or intermediate showman, and I think you're going to continue just to get better and better. I think you've got just a great career ahead of you. The young lady that we finish up with in the senior division, really impressive showman. I think she comes in first class and just really impressive. She takes just a steer that you can maybe pick some holes in, and does a nice job of just maybe hiding some of those flaws, having that animal set up to the best that thing can look the whole time, and she's just a natural showman. She does such a great job. Young lady, you're going to be our champion overall showman. Good job today. Congratulations.